Okay, video number 1. So, I'm going to be going into this woodworking jig, no pun intended, gig, not jig. The first thing I need, I want to make some of those tables, like Dragon Maiden, That Maids Marley. And the first thing they seem to think is most important, apart from a sledge, which is like a way of sort of straight, it's like flattening out all you. So I'm lucky because I've got a thicknesser over there. So I'm going to show you how I use my thicknesser. But the first things first is I think I need a straight edge guide. Basically, what we're going to do is take the straightest bit of wood I've got. It's a nice little bit of pine here. It's really light, which is important because I might have to put a thick piece of wood through. I'm doing it hundreds of times, lifting off this thick bit of wood as well. But basically what it's going to do is going to provide a guide for me to go along the fence of my table saw. But so I never really understood how this worked because I'm dumb. So if you're dumb like me, then listen. Basically, I need to take wobbly bits of wood and make them have a straight edge. Now, you can't put this, if it's got a slight kink in the wood, you can't put it for a straight edge because the fence that guides the straight edge will move when this is wobbly. The fence won't move, but this will move because it's not flat. So cutting this down the middle, this is a really good piece, but if you imagine, say I have this little bit of hardwood, I want to cut it down the middle because you get more stock out of it. I want to cut it down the middle to get myself a straight edge. Well, if you look at that, it's bent. Can't cut that because it's not, like, there's a bit of a piece missing there. So what this does is this acts as your guide, and then this bit of wood overlaps, right? So that the fence is brushing along here and the saw is coming out along this edge. So table saw, fence, blade coming along here, and you push this bit through. This doesn't get cut. This does because it's going to be clamped to this. And even if it's on like that, like just rough, the straight edge will not move and the saw blade will not move, and this will cut through. It's like floating. It's like a jig that floats the wood through to give it a perfect straight edge. So let's build this out of some pallet wood. Right, so I've got this bit of wood here. I don't really need to do anything with this because the straight edge I've checked. Lovely, right? So this is going to be what slides along the fence. I might give it a quick sand so there's no rough bits. Right. And then when it comes to getting a bit of wood on top of it, it'll sit there mid board, clamp, run along the wood, cuts it exactly in half. This might be diagonal or whatever, but the middle bit will be straight. So I need a way of clamping my boards to this. And I think I've got these horrible G clamps. They're alright, but what I might do is, because you need to be able to clamp your board to it, I might have to put something there and there to hold the board. So I'm going to have to fabricate something to hold this board. And this height is an issue, obviously, because you can only go so high with your clamp. And also, this bit that runs along the bed of the table needs to be flat, doesn't it? So I need to find a way of fastening. Of course, what you could do is just, because we're working with rough wood, get your piece of wood. Look at this, perfect example. You see how there's a big bend here? Well, that don't matter if I just want a straight cut out the middle. But if I ran that edge along the table saw, it would just, this edge would reflect in the cut and you'd get a wonky cut. But if I put it on here, like that, and it's pinched to there, and then it was cut through, because this is giving us the guide, Bob's your uncle. So, but I think what I need to do is have some blocks on here, maybe, whoops, maybe something like this, as thick as, you know, 3x2 or something, on there, that sits either side of my clamp, maybe there. Again, it can't go over the size of the fence, so I might just cut these down and screw them in. And then that will give my clamps something to hold the board with. There's probably a simpler way of doing this, I don't doubt it. Right, so it's occurred to me that these clamps here I can take this off and actually just use the screw thread rather than having to mount this whole thing onto here. And what I've done is I've cut these little blocks, okay, and don't screw through that because that's where the grain is. It will split the wood. You could screw through the side, right, just like this. So I split through the side here, screwed through the side, not through the grain edge, right. So I'm going to do that 3 times, like that there and that there, and then I can take these clamps and deassemble them, try and use this thread, maybe make a new thread through there. But basically that will then clamp down on the wood below it once it's screwing through. But yeah, you'll see there's absolutely no measurements going on here whatsoever, and I appreciate these are probably completely the wrong type of screws, but they will do. Any screw will do. Splits the wood slightly. I'm not doing pilot holes, and I should be. Where's my other block? There we go. Sink it in a bit more. See, I've got a split there. Let's move over a little bit so we're not in line so much. Lovely. Right. Now on the other side I probably will countersink them, because otherwise when it goes along the bed of the, this is probably way more in height than it needs to be, but when it goes along the bed of the, what you call it, let me just get it in place, I will sort the rest out later. Yeah, when it goes along the bed of the saw, if these are sticking out or anything sticking out, I'll sand this later, then it's gonna bump as it goes along. Probably won't matter much, but we might as well get it right. We're here, aren't we? So, right, where's my drill? I always go DeWalt for hand tools. Their drills are just great. Right, so let's give a, let's have one there, another 2 here. Spot on. So there's a lot of rainy days in the landscaping industry, and fellow landscapers will tell you, and it just seems a waste to be sitting. I mean, I do a lot of like marketing and stuff, and quoting and designs and stuff like that for customers, but sometimes it's just a rainy day, can't do anything, you might not want to, you might be fed up of going out there and getting wet day after day, and that's where the YouTube reviews came in. But I think I'm better suited creating stuff. Right, there we go. So I've got this now. Hopefully you can see that. This might change later. I've just noticed there's some gaps in my screws here, so I'm just going to go and give a bit of push when I slide them in. Right, there we go. Yeah, let's tighten that up. Got another gap there. Can you see it? You can see there's a bit of a gap. So I'll just go and back out the screws. Push the board down firmer before screwing it in again. Right. So here we go, right? So hopefully you're getting some of the idea. So now I've got this nice flat edge. Nice flat edge to run. And I put the board in here like that. Obviously it won't have nails in it. And then I sort of think, right, well, the middle's about there, or I might even mark up the middle and try and get a line on it. And the idea then is that I can screw something through here to clamp that down, and then when I run it through my table saw, it cuts it right down the middle, nice and straight and fine. Maybe if I could even secure just this bit, like drill through there, maybe drill it onto this, and then I can wind that down to clamp onto the wood in 2 places. But I'm gonna have to, maybe I'll try and sand that little bit off. So this is my little makeshift sanding level pad, whatever. I just clamp it. It's a belt sander. It's actually my father-in-law's. Doesn't know I have it. Doesn't know that I clamp it anyway. So put it in there. So I'm just going to see if the standard sandpaper, it's like a 40 grit. See if I can just sand that off to allow me to get this clamp off. If it doesn't work, I can still put it back on. Okay. Let's put you in. That worked really well. I didn't realise sandpaper could sand metal so well. Right, so here we are. I've got this. So if we can somehow... Oh, maybe I'll just screw it through there. If I make a hole for this to go through, I've already got a hole there. Maybe just screw it just above the block and that would be even stronger then as well. Beauty! Love it when a plan comes together. Check this out. Might need the bigger one. Where's the bigger one gone? Where is the bigger drill opener plug thing gone? I don't know. Right, so one there, and one here. Just get my clamp thing. Can you see me all the way over there? That's cool. I can see the height there. It's not touching the... Right. So I don't think that will come off. It will... I think that's... What's that? Yeah, it's not screwed on. Well, it has been, then it's been ground shut. If I can get that through there like that... Nope. Right, it might need to come off, and then we might need to do it from the other side. I have got a wider gauge drill thing, hole opener thing. Anybody want to tell me what it's called? I've got a wider one of these, and I can't even find it. One, that's all it needed, and I think. Oh yeah, baby. Right, so all I want to do now is screw that to there. Screw that to there, and then I've got a clamp. Might need to hold it down a bit better though. It might just pry the wood apart. So now I've got this. Go through there. Could even put the little rubber back on there. Are you watching this, guys? Right, now here is where I'm going to put my big screw through. I've got some big screws here. I think they're spread like they might be a bit long or way too long. Alright, I'll find something else. Strength. Certainly hold the clamp down in place. Like that. Look at that, and we are done, hun. Look at that. I made a thing. Look. So that screws down there. That screws down there. Hold it. I might need to reinforce this board because it feels a little bit flimsy. The bottom one's just a straight edge, not doing anything. But look. Check it out. Put you in there. It's even pretty fast to do it. Doesn't need to hold it like uber strong either, because as long as it's strong enough for the saw to get through. See that? I surprised myself how well that came out. Anyway, there. Your fence goes along here, and your blade's coming out the top side here, and it goes all the way along that, and you're basically left with a piece of wood that's straight. Do you see how that works? We'll give it a go in a bit. So, for something that took me about 15-20 minutes, I'm pretty happy with that, you know? It might not last forever. It's like wood clamp 1.0, you know, like when I figure out what's going to go wrong with it or whatever, then we'll modify it. I might need a thicker piece of wood here, might need some way of strapping up these bits here, so that they don't, you can see like when you press it, the pressure is increased on this board, so it might not last forever. I might over tighten, but let's get a board in there and see what happens on the saw. So this is my little table saw. It is, I'm just gonna shut the door, noisy as hell, right? Proper noisy. Now, you see how that sledge, I'm gonna call it a sledge. It's not a sledge at all, but you see how that, right, I've got that little thing which holds the suction contraption on the top. See, I don't know any technical words these days, but it just misses everything, right? So I'm going to get a piece of wood on here now. This looks like a good piece. Right, no nails in it, they've all been taken out. It's all rough as a-holes, as they say. Let me get my little jig here. You see why I made it long, because, you know. Now, I should have called the channel a sloppy woodworker, because I haven't even been able to get enough room in here to do a cut full length. But you can see what I mean, like that, what they need with these things. Because if I slide that along there, the wood isn't straight, so that straight edge is going to be reflected, or that non-straight edge is going to be reflected in the cut. So you need a straight edge as a guide. Now, I don't know if I'm oversimplifying this for people, but it didn't occur to me until I actually tried it what these people were talking about. So I'm just going to slot them in there. Obviously I could have done this to a certain size to, if I was doing like the same size boards all the time, but you know, you get pallets from everywhere. Right, now that's something to take note of. It's a little bit slanty, but hopefully once I've tightened this up, it'll hold it in there straight. I hold it pretty good. I'm quite impressed with myself. It's going to crack at some point, but let's give this a go. Right, and there you go. So there's my straight edge, right? So this is noisy as hell. Rear defenders. I don't have any goggles, and this thing makes loads of dust, which is really bad, so let's give it a go. Oh, I don't want to press it. It's sitting on the way, right? Now, that was quite successful. I didn't quite get it positioned centre, so maybe it's worth trying to work out the boards and marking them up before you clamp them down. And luckily I've got some really good height on this blade because I was able to raise it up halfway through, because this little bit that holds the plastic housing for the vacuum adapter on it was right in the way. But look what I did! Ugh. Let's take this out. Now, this was the whole point of this exercise. I've now got a piece of wood that's been split pretty well. See, it's not quite 50-50, but I know that that is pretty much straight. You see? Now, these guys on YouTube, you've probably seen them when they take pallets and stuff. They probably clean them up a lot more, but it has to be said, it doesn't really need to happen, because as long as it's not got soil in it and stuff, you could take that, put some glue in the middle, clamp it together, and you've got yourself a nice clean top. But I tried to do it with mixed woods and things, you know, like if I can find a crate, then I'll use a crate and put a bit of oak in there or something like that. But that has worked exactly how I needed it to. I've split it down the middle, a big chunky piece of pine. Look at it, so there was that much difference in height. But when you do your blocks and you cut them together and it's all glued, you can send it through your thicknesser or send it through the blade and cut this edge off, or clamp it on again and cut them to a new size. Wonderful. Let's see. Look how flat that is. Okay, it's not perfect, but I wasn't doing things to micrometer measurements. And then this side as well. So I've just doubled the stop. That's the point. I could have just trimmed that and then got another board and trimmed that and then just put them side by side like that. But you don't need it to be a full pallet thick. So that's fine. I've doubled it. I've still got 2 inches of wood there. Look at that, baby. Well impressed with that. So if you thought this was really helpful, like and subscribe. It's a new channel, man. It's a new channel on YouTube. Like and subscribe. I've also got another channel, Dan Reviews It All. If you like tool reviews, go on over there, hit that like button, baby, and the subscribe, smash that subscribe button. I don't know why people say that. It really annoys me. Anyway, there you go, my clamp jig. And you can put some big old bits of wood in there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let us know what you think.